welcome to the Parenting Show. I'm Jennifer Anderson. We are excited today to be here in the Rogers TV studio talking about a very timely topic. We're talking about vaccinations and dealing with vaccination issues within the family. Joining me, of course, my friend, parenting expert, Alyson Schafer. She is the one who's going to give us some answers.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I am a parenting expert. So I am not an epidemiologist. I am not a medical doctor. I'm not coming.
You don't play one on TV.
I don't play one on TV. No, I don't. No, and also, just the to be sensitive to where we are in time and location, because things keep changing with the pandemic, and we keep hearing different information. Just last night we got news about the boosters, and that might change by the time this airs. And so I'm not going to address the medical type stuff, but what I will say is that as a family counselor, over the course of this pandemic and whatever the last 18, 24 months, I have seen how vaxing and not vaxing and bubble sizes and how this has impacted family dynamics and created hurt feelings and anger and all kinds of family dynamic problems, nuclear families, extended family. And so it's for that reason that I think that it's something that we need to talk about, because I think every family has had at least one moment where they have said, like, how do I tell them they're not coming to the wedding? I only have room for 25, or, the funeral homes, everyone has to zoom in. So how do I say the front row is just for these people without hurting? All of us have had one situation that has been slightly uncomfortable, I think.
And we've always said death and money brings out the crazy, right?
And now it's death, money, and pandemics.
Yes, and it's so a whole different element to this. But, and in some cases, like you mentioned, a wedding, when the rules say only 25, that helps the situation, because while you do have to make some tough decisions, you are following protocol, and there's, fringe acquaintances who go, I understand that I wouldn't be invited to that.
Yeah.
But when you add a topic like vaccination into it and people's beliefs, now you're adding a whole different layer.
Yes, yeah. When we've got the people that have a community-minded sense and follow science and know that we need to get vaccinated, and then you have people that are getting information from different sources that are anti-vaxxers.
Right.
And I guess maybe I can just jump off there just to because I think that's an important point to bring home, which is if you have somebody who is a staunch anti-vaxxer, the likelihood of sitting them down to talk good sense into them is pretty unlikely.
Right.
So there is a reason why people get entrenched in certain thinking and beliefs, and it becomes self-supporting, and it's a really difficult situation. So to know the limits of your influence to where you say, there's some people you can sit down and say, hey, I read this thing, did you know? And maybe sway somebody's thinking, and bring them good vetted content that, they might have been sitting on the fence. I know I was, for example, I hosted an event where doctors were help explaining the research that was confusing some of the public. And it was very clear by the end of it, this confusion about what happens if you get vaccinated when you're pregnant, when they made it clear that it doesn't cross the placenta, and know that, like, whatever, they gave the science behind it. It was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Or they were talking about sample sizes and how if you read the math one way, it'll say it looks like it's similar populations or similar incidents, but when one is from 5 out of 10 people and the other is 5 out of 1,000 people, it's like, oh, you see, you got to know how to read the math. So, so if you can enlighten someone with information like that, I think that's great. But I think staunch non-vaxxers are probably not going to be convinced by us sitting down and having a conversation with them. And so I think don't beat your head up against the wall. You're fighting kind of a bit of a losing battle. I'm much more interested in talking to open-minded people who just that have hesitancy or lack of competency, and then we can have a dialogue with those people.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you're also dealing with social media, right? So for every article, every piece of information that is, how to read this properly, there's an equal amount of information that is just wrong.
Right.
And people are reading it like it is the truth. And whichever side, whatever it is, it's wrong. And the information is not giving anybody favors in terms of learning about what we're going through and what we should be doing.
Well, and just prior to all this happening, the federal minister of health actually called myself, representing parents, and a bunch of the other stakeholders like Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, and more. And we were having a conversation about how we can do this better. And there was an agreement that when you go to Facebook, the algorithm for Facebook now puts up the vetted government approved website. So if you notice that the little bar,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that you know if you're, and so that was an agreement from the stakeholders that we need to do better to make sure that people that are watching are getting the accurate information. Because to your point, it's not everything that's printed is true. Do you know? Did you hear that? Sometimes there's inaccurate things on the internet.
Who knew?
I know. This just in. You heard it here first on the parenting show. Just doing our important job to help parents.
I'm going to dive right into questions
sure,
because I think, when we have people who are sending in questions, these are, I think a lot of them are topics and they're issues that a lot of people are going through. So this is the best way for you to be able to answer some of the situations that are happening. First one, my ex is an anti-vaxxer. Not just COVID vaccines, but all of them. I want my kids vaccinated since they are with me 50% of the time. How do I convince her if I haven't been successful before?
So there we just went to the non-convincing person and the limit of his influence.
Right.
Right? So I'm sure he would have talked to her, he's made no headway. The thing is, he has some legal rights. So it would really go down to speaking to his lawyer and finding out what it says in their a parenting agreement, legal binding parenting agreement, about who has say around medical decisions. It's depending on how it was written. It could be that they have to agree or it could be that one person is assigned 100% of the medical decision making, or it could be, or you need to agree. If it's that they need to agree and he's not getting agreement, then he could apply to have that changed to say that he would like to have say over, either take over 100%.
Right.
But interesting, I know that there have been cases where where it's just been around anti-vaxxing for COVID, where the judge has said this person is of sound mind and good decision making around other health issues, but we won't let them but 100% of the COVID vaccine decision making will be done by the other partner. It can be parceled out. So I know that's one precedent case that has already happened.
Okay.
But he's not going to be able to have just a conversation with her. It will have to. He will have to go probably through a lawyer, in which case she might say fine, or it's going to start costing money in courts.
Right.
But what happens when it goes to court, just to give an idea, so now you're a court and you're basically saying this couple can't make a decision on this. So now you're leaving it to a third party person to do it. So what they're going to say is, well, I'm going to then refer up to the most reputable sources, and they're going to say the recommendations of the government are that kids of this age should get vaccinated, and so they're going to say, nope, the guidelines are get vaccinated.
Right.
So it's likely to go in his favor.
Yeah, and this is not just dealing with COVID. This is with all vaccines. So that creates a different element. And also the ripple effect. I'm quite sure that when the kids are with either parent, they're being influenced one way or the other because it's a belief for each parent.
Yeah, we certainly want to make sure that we don't have parental alienation with our kids. Even if we think we're right, the point is we want to be able to say to our kids, different people believe different things. And so your mom sees it one way, I see it another way. But it's been decided that this is going to be the healthier thing to do. But we don't go to character. We're not barraging people. We want the children to have a good relationship with their mom. We don't want them to feel that if I do what dad says, then I'm being disloyal to mom. That's the emotional consequence of being pulled in a decision like that. So you have to be able to always speak kindly to your spouse and your ex-spouse, and to just speak to how we manage differences, right? So keep that on the lighthearted side for the kids, for sure. And a lot of it is appealing too to people about what you're going to miss out on. I have family members who didn't get vaccinated as kids. They got a waiver, based on likelihood of problems and beliefs and things. You can print off a waiver and sign.
Right.
And they did, and the mother did. And as the kids got older, though, but then they wanted to have passports and travel and do all these things with that. other places said you're not vaccinated. And you know how awful it is to get vaccinated and caught up on all your childhood vaccinations as an adult. It's like way worse, way worse. So, and we're seeing that now, you know, the freedom that people can have, like, well, you know, you can make your own choices, but you can't come to this workplace. It's like,
Well, and we're just starting to see that. You know,
I think
taping this in
grow.
August, we're starting to see those changes and see changes in each of the provinces too. So you really are witnessing some of those restrictions.
Yeah, so you have a right not to be vaccinated, but now we can't have, none of your friends' parents will let them come over to play. Like, the consequences will start to stack up, you know?
Right. Okay, speaking of friends, I am planning my son's birthday party. Everyone in the family is invited and vaccinated except his favorite uncle and his namesake. I'm not inviting him because of his vaccine status. I know my son will be crushed and his uncle will be too, but it's not personal, it's for health reasons. How do I make them see this?
You know, if it's not personal, they probably have a strong enough relationship that he should believe her when he says it's not personal. A lot of people will say, oh, it's not personal. I don't want him at the party. Just blame it on the vaccination. So if there really is a relationship there, you would hope that they would understand. But the other thing, too, is there are ways to socialize with anti-vaxxed people that you know, they just need to be far enough away and you need to be out in fresh air and whatever. And so maybe there is a way that, depending on how the format of the party is, that there's a way to visit from over the fence or whatever without feeling too much like a social leper. You know, if you bring your lawn chair and you
Is
park
that
it.
worse? Is that...
Oh, no, I guess it's to everyone's opinion.
If everybody is in the yard and you have Uncle Fred, like Wilson, across the fence...
Okay, the way you say it, it doesn't sound good. But if we just go to, I do believe that you could have a socially distanced birthday party with somebody far enough away that if the people are kind of adults and you think it's a controllable situation in a small group of people, or you know, you arrange something special for just the uncle and the son to do something special that maybe you can underwrite or help out with or whatever, so that there's a sense of goodwill that we're not trying to spoil all the fun, but we just have to keep everybody in mind. And with other young people that are visiting that I can't really speak for their parents and how they feel, you know, do you two want to go play badminton after or something? I don't know.
Right.
So I would make some accommodation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not, you know,
it's hard.
It is. That's what, you know, it's hard, but you know what's harder? Dying of a COVID-19. You know, I mean, that's the thing that we have to realize. Like, we're asking everybody to take a little bit of the shoulder here so that all of us do better in the long run. So, yeah, no one likes to be disappointed at their birthday party, but that's, nobody likes to do online schooling, or, you know what I mean? Like, think of all the things that we're being asked to do. And this is just one more of the asks.
Yeah. All right. My son suffers from anxiety and panic attacks. It's become so much worse since COVID. He wants me to enforce a rule that his brother's girlfriend can't come over since she might be infected and pass it on. I know he's anxious and it's real, but doesn't his brother have a right to have company over if they follow protocol?
So the first thing, many people, I mean, anxiety is one of the most prevalent mental health disorders in society anyways. It was on the rise in alarming numbers prior to the pandemic. It's absolutely skyrocketed since. And because it's so prevalent, it also means that we've done a tremendous amount of research on it, and we have very effective ways for treating people with anxiety. And I would say, please, 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 people don't need to, like, panic attacks are incredibly uncomfortable. Like, you feel like you're dying. I mean, who wants to have that on a regular basis? So I would say, please, besides this situation, try to get some help for this guy. It should be taken seriously. But then secondarily, often when it's not uncommon for a child to discover that, you know, yes, they have anxiety and they don't like the panic attacks, and they would love to get rid of their anxiety. They don't want it, but well, they have it. Isn't it interesting that sometimes if you claim your anxiety is bothering you, that your mom will, you know, stay with you longer at bedtime because you're feeling a little unsettled, and could she just rub your back for half an hour till you fall asleep, because that's when the anxiety is the worst, and maybe get you like a hot steamed milk and you know, ding-a-ling-a-ling, ring the bell. So sometimes you can get secondary gains from anxiety. And again, I don't think that it's a pre-conscious thing. It's not meaning to be manipulative. It's not in their conscious awareness. Doesn't mean that it isn't the monkey business that they're up to.
Right.
But it's not conscious.
Right.
So when I hear, preventing his brother's girl from coming over, maybe he's really worried about the germs, in which case we can talk about anxiety being logical versus illogical, and, if we're following social protocols and we for a fact know that this does not pose a risk,
right,
then I would say the anxious person needs to make the adjustment, not the rest of the family. That's an important thing about anxiety. Anxiety creates, there's an artificial fear. And in this case, there's a little bit of a fear. That's
right.
The trouble with it, is that there's some
a
risk.
valid, yeah.
But then what they do is they evade, and they go to their safeguarding behavior. And to get over anxiety, you basically have to not safeguard. So I don't want the world to arrange itself differently to accommodate this child. I want the child to be on his uncomfortable edge and get enough exposure to the threat, even just the mental talk about the threat, that it's like exposure therapy, where they go, it's just kind of exhausting. And you know what? She came over 15 times and we never got COVID. I guess maybe I could drop that belief kind of thing.
Yes.
So I want him to make the accommodation. But, isn't it interesting how, if you are in a sibling dynamic where you're trying to make your brother's life, it's a great way of poking the bear or getting at your, no, your girlfriend can't come over. Of course that's going to inflame his brother, right? And then, of course, mom's going to have to take sides. And so if you go with the anxious kid, then the other brothers are like, you like him more than me. You care more about his anxiety than my girlfriend. Like, if you as a parent end up stepping into this, you can see how it's going to stimulate this or tip the scale of favoritism. And I think that is part of this dynamic here. So I would make the anxious child look after themselves.
Yeah.
Do it. We know she's safe. We know we're following the social distancing protocols, what's allowed, what's not allowed, where she's been, what not been. If you're uncomfortable with that, then you'll need to figure out your soothing. Stay in your room, wipe your counters, whatever you need to do, but you do it. Don't put that on us.
Right. I thought that was somewhat of a simple question, but there's there's so many different elements to it. The other element, too, is just that we've spent 18 months not doing anything and not being with anybody. And, I know for myself, I can go into a store and look around and go, there are a lot of people here. And there might only be 12. Right? But all of a sudden, you're in an environment where you see people again.
It does feel very strange. Yeah, I actually just ate indoor dining, but waiting sort of by the outside, waiting for our table, and I was realizing I'm enclosed with food. I haven't done that in 2 years. It's my favorite thing to do, but it's this just feels different.
Yeah.
Feels different.
I was joking with a friend. I saw her a year ago. The pandemic hit, everybody locked themselves inside. Yeah. And this was the first time I ventured outside and was going through the McDonald's drive-thru. And as I'm going in, she's coming out. And I looked at her and I waved to her. So I saw her a few days ago, ran into her, and I said, I felt like Forrest Gump on the boat, right? When I saw her, I was waving to her like I'd never seen anybody that I hadn't lived with before. And then I was embarrassed about it afterwards and said to her, last week, that was a year ago. And I'm still, coming out and emerging and doing the wave every time I see somebody for the first time after.
Well, and because we also broadcast this in New Brunswick and Newfoundland, I don't know what their lockdown durations were, but they need to know. Here in Ontario, we were the longest in lockdown, the longest in online school. We really didn't see anyone. And to your point, the one thing I would do is go to the grocery store. You got to go up and down the aisles and follow the arrows, and you have to wait. They won't let you in, all those kinds of things. But like the old days, when I went to the grocery store before, I never talked to anybody.
No.
I go to the grocery store now. Hi, look at that. Oh, I've got so much to say to the other people. And the lady that's checking me, and thank you for working. I'm so glad you're working. But I also have to go, can I put my bags down yet? There's different protocols everywhere you go. Can I put it on the cart? Or do you need to wipe the belt down? I don't know how to behave in this grocery store. Are we queuing up? Or are we,
That's right.
Anyways, I had many good conversations out in the public because
I know.
There's people that aren't my children.
People you don't live with. Yes. All right, another question for you. My husband is sending unvetted information with sketchy sources to my son. I feel like he's brainwashing him. What can I do? So you had mentioned the social media and reputable sources, but it's difficult when when there's children who aren't reading the information firsthand, they're hearing it from adults.
Right. And now if you're hearing it from your dad, who you think, well, he's a smart guy and he must know something, but we know that a lot of these parents that are misinformed, they're adults, they're whatever, they're believing this stuff. So the first thing is, if I want to think about it from the child's point of view, in the family, we want the family to get along. I want that son to see parents who are cooperating and living through differences. And this is clearly, she's saying, a difference. I would probably appeal, I don't want to get into a fight. There's this wonderful thing called nonviolent communication. That sounds like a big name. It's a trademark, actually. It is a brand that you can go get trained on. But the idea behind nonviolent communication is, it speaks to the idea that we don't need to get to fighting around every contentious, polarizing issue. If you got families fight about Republicans versus Democrat, and abortion, no abortion, God, no God. I mean, pick something where people really have stakes in the ground and really. Right. And so, the idea behind nonviolent communication is it's a process that's really involved in listening deeply. Really trying to understand, and Adler always said, to understand a person, you should know them well enough that you can hear with the ears of another, see with the eyes of another, feel with the heart of another. It's the biggest form of kind of empathy and compassion. If I was that person in that family reading that news article, I would think that too. So it's a much more global, deeper way. So I think that's something that you could look into if you're finding that this is becoming really a contentious issue in the family. You could speak to the son and say, I think that's great that your dad is excited about this, and this sort of seems his interest, and he's good-natured and good intention that he feels that he wants to share this with you.
Right.
But I would just say, do your due diligence, like media training. Everything has a source. Check your source. Just because it comes from somebody you know, just because it comes from an adult, that still doesn't mean you need to always do your own vetting.
Right.
And there, that's media training, literacy training. So I would just review that and then kind of trust that the child is going to be with that education, be able to say, not sure about that one.
And I was looking at it again. It doesn't say how old the son is, but it says he's being sent information. So I assume he's old enough that it's being emailed, it's being sent to him where he can electronically see all that information.
Yeah, I was going to say email. Oh, you make me laugh. Oh, teenagers and email. No, texting.
That's right.
Yes, I'm pretty sure you have to text them to say, check your email.
Yeah. Is it what? I wasn't even going to say it right. Not landing in your DMs. It's I'll just sit here in my old, bring my old self back to reality. When group sizes are limited, how do we put a cap on who can and can't come without making someone feel left out or showing favoritism? Besides the old fence trick.
Yeah. I'm not winning you over with the... Not really?
No, you know what?
We're going to have a nonviolent communication about this. I feel... Wait, now I'm going to have to tell you about iMessages.
Okay.
So iMessages, you can't go wrong with an iMessage, because if you use an iMessage when you're communicating, the other person can't be defensive because I'm telling you about my truth.
Right.
If I say, you need to get vaccinated, you've got a crappy invitation list, you're making me feel like you're preferred, your favoritism, and that's all about the other person, you're going to get their hackles up. Like, who are you to say that I was showing favoritism? Who are you to say that what I should do? So that's going to get all kinds of defensiveness. But when you say, Jennifer, I feel, misunderstood when you ask me a question about who to come to the party,
right?
Whatever, right?
Right.
I feel unimportant when I don't get invited to the family gathering because I had you at my birthday party. So if you say an iMessage, you're just talking about how I feel in the situation. Okay. Those are always going to be safe. And they have to include a feeling word. That's really, when you're communicating, it's like we got to get to how it makes the person feel. That's what's important, right?
Right.
So I would use iMessages instead of you messages. And so when you're describing it to the other person, you can let them know, I'm in a dilemma. This was a very hard thing. I didn't want to exclude anybody. I had to make some hard choices. Right. Your relationship's important to me. How can I show that to you? And this is what I'm saying. We're going to probably have to do some other things. Not everybody can come to every party. That was always the case. right?
I know,
I
and
only
people
have room
forget
for
that.
6 around my dinner table. I don't invite all my friends for every dinner party. I have to have multiple dinner parties. Different people come to different events. So I know that some of these are like even graduation. Graduation, sometimes they only give the 2 tickets to the parents. You don't get to bring the grandparents to graduation, you know? So we've always had to make some hard decisions. And, you know, I think we just have to say, what else can we do? Can we film it? Can we have you at the dinner party after? Can we, you know, what can we do to accommodate? Can I make a scrapbook and send it to you? How can I let you know that you're important to me?
Right.
We just had to make a hard decision.
And we're heading into harder decisions because right now we're taping in August, you know, airing in September. It's still being able to be outside and have those outdoor socially distanced.
We hope that the weather stays nice.
Events. What happens when it becomes Christmas, right? We're hoping that we're trending in the right direction, but you know, all of a sudden we're going to be all indoors again, and we're going to have to start making some of those difficult decisions again, just based on the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess there'll be some event halls that people can rent out, but to your point, the worry is that as people come indoors, that infection and community spread is going to go up. And, you know, I think it's okay, I hope people have understood by now that there is the objective data and then there is just the subjective comfortability. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to our point about like, it's weird to be at a restaurant where whatever. We have to allow for that subjective part of this, right? And so to just be able to say what I'm willing to do, what I'm willing to tolerate, what I'm not willing to tolerate. So you can say, you know, you have your Christmas party, but you know what, I love you, but I'm not willing to be with that many people right now. No judgment. You know, you do you, but I need to do me, and I'm still way more conservative about this right now.
Right.
And that could be because of my anxiety. That could be because I have somebody else that is at my work that might be high risk, whatever. We don't have to get all like judgy about the person as making some different conservative judgments about things than you do. So it's about dropping that judgment, trying to embrace our differences, keeping ourselves safe, and then just being really okay with just saying what I'm willing to do. I'm not trying to give you instructions. People don't like to be told. They don't like to be directed. They don't like to be ordered around. They don't like to be judged. I'm just disclosing I'm unwilling to come to a party at Christmas in an indoor house at this point in where I'm at with my stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not going to judge you for hosting.
Let's throw your website up at the bottom.
Throw it up.
Throw it up because we want people to be able to see it. We're at the end of the show, but lots of information there, and it also directs everybody to all of your different social media handles and where they can find you and
find me, follow me.
Find you and follow you. Thank you for the information. Lots of great information today, and such a touchy subject. I love these shows. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Parenting Show. Love it.
Again.